What happens when a self-proclaimed expert meets the untamed fury of the ocean? On a sun-soaked morning at Coral Cove Beach, Karen strutted onto the sand, her neon wetsuit gleaming, a megaphone in hand. She declared herself the ultimate surf instructor, promising to teach novices to conquer the waves in hours. Her voice boomed, drowning out the seagulls as she bragged about her world-class skills. But the crowd, locals, tourists, and a few skeptical surfers sensed something off. Karen's confidence reeked of arrogance, and her claims didn't add up. No one had ever seen her surf. Not once. Karen's lessons began with a spectacle. She charged exorbitant fees, $200 per hour, promising life-changing experiences. She barked orders at her students, a mix of wide-eyed beginners and wary locals, insisting they mimic her exaggerated poses on the board. "It's all about attitude," she shouted, striking a pose like a reality TV star. But her instructions were vague, more about her vibe than actual technique. A teenage student, Mia, whispered to her friend, "She's never even touched a board, has she?" The locals exchanged knowing glances. Karen's bravado was a ticking time bomb. The truth started to unravel when Karen took her group into the water. The waves were rougher than expected, stirred by an incoming storm. Karen, undeterred, insisted on leading the charge. "Follow me, and you'll be pros by lunch," she crowed, paddling out with a rented board. Her students hesitated, but her commanding tone pushed them forward. On shore, a local surfer, Jake, a grizzled veteran with sun-bleached hair, watched with narrowed eyes. He'd heard about Karen's lessons online, where she'd been hyping herself as a surf legend for weeks. Jake wasn't buying it. He grabbed his phone and started recording. Karen's first attempt to catch a wave was a disaster. She stood too soon, wobbled, and face-planted into the surf. The crowd gasped, but she emerged, spitting salt water, and laughed it off. "That's just to show you what not to do," she yelled, her voice cracking. But the waves didn't care about her excuses. They grew fiercer, and Karen's facade began to crack. She screamed at her students to stop being cowards as they struggled to paddle. One student, an older man named Tom, slipped off his board and was pulled under. Panic rippled through the group. Karen didn't notice she was too busy posing for a selfie. Then came the twist. Jake wasn't alone. A woman named Lila, a marine biologist who'd been quietly observing, stepped forward. She'd seen Karen's social media posts claiming she'd surf pro circuits in Hawaii, but Lila had done her homework. Karen's credentials were fabricated. Lila had contacted old surf buddies from Oahu, and none had heard of her. "She's a fraud," Lila whispered to Jake, who nodded, his camera still rolling. Lila wasn't just a bystander, she'd once been a competitive surfer herself. She grabbed a board and paddled out, not to surf but to help Tom, who was still floundering. With calm precision, she pulled him to safety, earning cheers from the shore. The confrontation erupted when Lila returned. She faced Karen, who was now red-faced and shouting at her students for failing her. Lila's voice cut through the chaos like a blade. "You're no instructor, Karen. You've never surfed a day in your life." The crowd hushed. Karen froze, her megaphone dangling. "You're lying," she snapped, but Lila was ready. She held up her phone, showing screenshots of Karen's fake credentials, including a doctored photo of her winning a surf contest that never existed. The evidence was damning. Murmurs spread like wildfire. Karen's students demanded refunds. The locals jeered. Karen, cornered, doubled down. "I don't need credentials to teach," she shrieked, grabbing a board and storming back into the water. "I'll prove it." The storm was closing in, the waves now towering. This was her last stand. She paddled out, ignoring the lifeguard's warnings. The crowd watched, half horrified, half mesmerized. Jake's camera captured every second. Karen caught a massive wave, stood up and immediately lost control. The board flipped, and she was hurled into the churning surf, her scream echoing across the beach. The wave didn't just knock her down. It seemed to punish her, tossing her like a rag doll. When she finally washed ashore, gasping and disheveled, her wet suit was torn, her pride in tatters. The aftermath was brutal. Karen's students abandoned her, some demanding their money back on the spot. Social media exploded with Jake's video, titled Karen's Surf Scam Wipeout. It went viral within hours, racking up millions of views. Comments poured in, tearing apart her arrogance and fake expertise. "This is what happens when you lie about your skills," one user wrote. Another added, "The ocean doesn't care about your ego." Karen tried to salvage her reputation, posting a tearful apology video, but it was too late. The internet had spoken. Her surf school was done, her name synonymous with fraud. But the story didn't end with Karen's downfall. Lila, the unassuming marine biologist, became an unexpected hero. She offered free surf lessons to Karen's former students, teaching them with patience and real expertise. Mia, the skeptical teenager, caught her first wave under Lila's guidance, her face lighting up with joy. Tom, the older man, thanked Lila with tears in his eyes, saying he'd nearly given up on his dream of surfing. The beach, once tainted by Karen's chaos, became a place of community again. Locals rallied around Lila, and Coral Cove's surf culture thrived, stronger than ever. Karen slunk away, her megaphone silent, her neon wetsuit packed in a suitcase. Some said she moved inland, far from any waves. Others claimed she was spotted trying to sell yoga retreats in a new town, but no one cared enough to check. The ocean had delivered its verdict, and Karen's lies couldn't withstand its truth. This story isn't just about a scam exposed or a fraud humiliated. It's about accountability, about the power of truth to rise above deception. Lila's quiet courage and Jake's vigilance showed that no one is above scrutiny, not even a self-proclaimed expert. The ocean, vast and unforgiving, reminded everyone that nature doesn't tolerate fakes. So what do you think? Was Karen's downfall a fair consequence? Or did she deserve a chance at redemption? Share your thoughts, because in a world full of Karens, the truth always finds a way to surface.